These are the 10 secrets Prince Harry exposed in his new book. At number 10, William attacked him. In his recent book, Prince Harry has made a series of explosive claims, one of which is an alleged physical altercation with his older brother, Prince William. The altercation, which Harry alleges took place after a conversation in which William called Harry's wife Meghan, quote, difficult, rude, and abrasive. This is said to have occurred at Harry and Meghan's then home in Nottingham Cottage on Kensington Palace grounds in London. According to Harry, the altercation began after he attempted to cool a heated verbal exchange between himself and his brother, and he did this by giving William some water. However, things quickly escalated when William allegedly attacked Harry, grabbing him by the collar and knocking him to the floor. Harry claims that William left the scene but later returned looking regretful and apologized. He also stated that William was urging him to hit back, but he refused. Harry also talked about the altercation in a recent interview on Britain's ITV and spoke about his perception that William was overwhelmed by red mist, which is a phrase used to describe the loss of control of emotions. He stated that the level of frustration was different and he saw a red mist in William as well, but he chose not to respond in a violent manner. Number 9, Harry partied often and suffered from substance abuse. Prince Harry has detailed his experience with substance abuse and partying during his teenage years. He describes instances of underage drinking, smoking marijuana, snorting cocaine, and experiencing with all sorts of psychedelics, which contributed to his image as a party boy. As a student at Eton, Harry became familiar with the raging cigarette habit of many of his peers and eventually joined in, accepting every cigarette offered to him before soon graduating to weed. He and his schoolmates would often watch Family Guy after smoking sessions as well. Harry also mentions that being alone with his thoughts only complicated matters more. He states, quote, "My memory has been spotty since Mummy disappeared by design and I didn't want to fix it, because memory equaled grief. Not remembering was bomb." He and his brother William would drink at a local pub as well and host parties in the basement of Highgrove when they were home from school. Unfortunately, their partying ways eventually caught up with them. When the editor of Britain's biggest tabloid called Charles's office with evidence of Harry's drug use in the basement and behind the pub. Instead of shutting down the story, Harry recalls a spin doctor advising his father's office to spin me right under the bus. Harry also recalled the time when he was offered a line of cocaine for the first time. He recalls it as, quote, "wasn't much fun and didn't make me particularly happy, as it seemed to make everyone around me, but it did make me feel different, and that was the main goal, feel different. I was a deeply unhappy 17-year-old boy willing to try almost anything that would alter the status quo. He would try anything to avoid his grief and to feel something different instead of his constant unhappiness." Number 8, Harry's bloody military history. In his book, Harry opened about a time serving in Afghanistan as a soldier and the mental toll it took on him. He reveals that during his deployment, he killed 25 different people. He writes about the impact of the war, stating, quote, "Afghanistan was a war of mistakes, a war of enormous collateral damage, thousands of innocents killed and maimed, and that always haunted us." He goes on to explain that his goal while serving was to ensure he was making the right decisions and that he was only targeting the Taliban and not any civilians. Despite this, he writes about the mental toll of his experience and how in the heat of combat, he didn't think of the people he killed as people, but as chess pieces. This detachment, he writes, was a learned behavior and something that he recognized as problematic, but also something that he saw as an unavoidable part of soldiering. After returning home from Afghanistan, Harry began to experience panic attacks and intense anxiety. He recognized that he was likely suffering from PTSD, not only from his tours in Afghanistan, but also from his mother's death. He was determined to find a solution and began speaking to therapists and discovered that meditation helped him to cope with his symptoms. He writes that it quieted his racing mind and brought a degree of calm in him. He states that he wasn't one to pray, but in his worst moments, he would shut his eyes and be still and sometimes ask for help, though he was never sure who he was asking. Number 7, Kate made Meghan cry over bridesmaid dresses. Prince Harry talked about a specific incident that happened between his wife Meghan Markle and his sister-in-law Kate Middleton. He describes a text message that Kate sent to Meghan in which she expressed her concern over the fitting of the bridesmaids' dresses, specifically Princess Charlotte's dress. She stated that it was, quote, "too big, too long, and too baggy," and that Charlotte had cried when she tried it on at home. Meghan offered to have the tailor make alterations, but Kate insisted that all the dresses needed to be remade. This incident led to a misunderstanding, which then led to Meghan crying and Harry trying to console her. The next morning, Kate came by with flowers and a card apologizing for the incident. However, this incident magnified the issues between the couples, and a month after the wedding, Meghan mentioned to William and Kate in turn shared their own opinions, such as not receiving Easter presents, and Kate said that Meghan owed her apology for once talking about Kate's hormones. Number 6, William physically attacked Harry over Meghan. In the book, Harry recalled an incident when William called for a meeting after Meghan's letter to her father was leaked all over the press. When confronted, William told Harry that Meghan was difficult and that she was, quote, rude, abrasive, and alienated half the staff. He continued on to say that he expected better of Harry and basically wanted Harry to admit that Meghan was wrong and that something needed to be done. Harry recalls his brother becoming increasingly angry to the point when Harry felt a bit scared. In addition, William was calling him all sorts of offensive names as well. Then things took a turn for the worse when Harry grabbed him by the collar, ripped out his necklace, and knocked him to the floor. Harry would recall saying, quote, I landed on the dog's bowl, which cracked under my back, the pieces cutting into me. I lay there for a moment, dazed, then got to my feet and told him to get out. William told Harry to hit me, but Harry reiterated his wish for his brother to leave. William left the kitchen and returned 2 minutes later to apologize, he said. Harry promised not to tell Meghan about the situation, though he did call his therapist. And days later, when Meghan returned from a trip, she asked about the scrapes and bruises on his back, so he did tell her. She wasn't surprised and she wasn't at all angry. Harry writes, she was just incredibly sad. In the hump of our list, we have urged Charles not to marry Camilla. In his book, Harry spoke of the time when he warned his father not to wed Camilla, who is currently the queen consort. He did this because he thought she would be a wicked stepmother, according to another incident from the memoirs. He said, quote, I recall wondering right before the tea if she'd be mean to me, if she'd be all like the wicked stepmothers in storybooks, but she wasn't. Like Willie, I did feel real gratitude for that. On top of that, the brothers would just call her the other woman. When their father wanted to be public about their relationship with Camilla, the brothers met her formally for the first time in separate occasions. Harry writes, quote, he, William, merely gave me the impression that the other woman, Camilla, has made an effort which he appreciated, and that was all he cared to say. Harry says. He later compares his meeting with her as getting an injection, writing in his book, Close Your Eyes, over before you know it. Number 4, Meghan's comment on Kate's baby brain. In another part of the memoir, it's revealed that the Duchess of Sussex allegedly upset the Princess of Wales by saying that she must have a baby brain. She said this because of her hormones after she was given birth and during the run-up to the royal wedding in 2018. Harry describes a 2018 meeting with William and Kate at their residence, which according to the Duke was an attempt to clear the air between both couples. Prince Harry reportedly claims that Kate demanded an apology from Meghan for offending her. Kate allegedly told Meghan, quote, we're not close enough for you to talk about my hormones, according to the book. Harry went on to say that Meghan said that she spoke to all her friends that way. Harry recounted that the Prince of Wales called Meghan rude and pointed her finger, saying it's not what's done here in Britain. To which Meghan reportedly replied, kindly take your finger out of my face. Meg said she never intentionally do anything to hurt Kate, and if she ever did, she would ask Kate to please just let her know so it wouldn't happen again. Number 3, a secret Instagram. Prince Harry used a secret Instagram in the beginning of his relationship with Meghan Markle. Harry used the handle Spiky Mouse in honor of Canadian DJ Dead Mouse and a nickname given to him by Met Police bodyguards. According to the biography, Markle and Harry followed each other on social media platform after their first date, but they both stopped using their accounts when their relationship was made public. The book also reported that Harry used a secret Facebook page with the alias Spike Wells. Wells, which used the King Julian from the movie Madagascar as the account's profile image, claimed to hail from Mon, Botswana, one of Harry's favorite places. A representative for the couple told Page 6 the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were not interviewed and did not contribute to Finding Freedom. This book is based on the author's own experiences as members of the Royal Press Corps and their own independent reporting. Number 2, when Harry outed the media about Meghan Markle. Harry turned to his father for advice as the bigotry, misogyny, and death threats against Meghan grew. In the book, Harry said his father told him not to read about all the nasty things said about Meghan, which is something more easily said than done. In response, he said, quote, it's not that simple, I said angrily. I might lose this woman. She might either decide I'm not worth the bother, or the press might so poison the public that some idiot might do something bad, harm her in some way. She's isolated, I said, and afraid, and she hasn't raised the blinds in her house for months. And you're telling me not to read it? Harry put out the statement in 2016 condemning the sexism and racism Meghan faced from the press conference and social media trolls. Not only did it stop the onslaught of coverage, it generated a whole new onslaught from my family. Harry says, Pa and Willie were furious. They gave me an earful. My statement made them look bad, they both said. Why in hell? Because they never put out a statement for their girlfriends or wives when they were being harassed. Number 1, Harry believed Diana wasn't dead. In the aftermath of his mother Princess Diana's death, Prince Harry was overcome with grief and came to wholeheartedly believe that Diana had staged her death. He writes, quote, "With nothing to do but roam in the castle and talk to himself, a suspicion took hold, which then became a firm belief. This was all a trick. And for once, the trick wasn't being played by the people around me or by the press, but by Mummy. Her life's been miserable, she's been hounded, harassed, lied about, lied to, so she staged an accident as a diversion and just ran away." This belief brought temporary relief to the young prince as he dreamed of himself and his brother joining Diana at a secret Swiss Alps getaway. However, he battled back and forth with his thoughts about the truth, even after his aunt Duchess Sarah brought a box with clipped locks of Diana's hair to Harry and William. Years later, when Harry revealed his theory to William, William replied that he once was entertained about a similar theory, but ultimately he discarded it. Harry still couldn't accept that there was concrete proof of her death. It wasn't until he was 23 and requested a driver to drive through the tunnel as her driver was before the crash that he was finally able to come to terms with Diana's death. He writes, quote, "She's dead, I thought. My God, she's really gone for good. I got the closure I was pretending to seek. I got in spades, and now I'd never be able to get rid of it." The next day, he called William to share his experience, and the two discussed their shared beliefs in the injustices of that night. They plan to issue a joint statement, maybe hold a conference, and call for an investigation of Diana's death to be reopened, but they were talked out of it by the authorities.
Staff thoughts on Meghan. Meghan confesses to Oprah, again Oprah because we keep talking about Oprah, that she had battled with self-harm thoughts during her time within the royal family. And this was one of her most shocking revelations that came out of the interview, particularly given that the Duchess of Sussex alleged that her pleas for help were ignored by the monarchy. And she told her husband she didn't want to be alive anymore, before claiming the Buckingham Palace HR department ignored her plea for help because she wasn't a paid employee. She said she didn't want to tell Harry at first because of the loss he had suffered as a result of his mother's passing, but she did, and he cradled me. Meghan said she begged a senior member of the royal family to assist her to get help for mental health issues, but she was left to suffer alone, describing how she considered ending her own life, believing it was a battle for everyone. Meghan said, "I knew that if I didn't say it that I would do it. I just didn't want to be alive anymore, and it was very clear and real and frightening constant thought."
Well, these are the 10 secrets Prince Harry exposed in his new book. What did you guys think about this list? Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, and I hope you guys have a great day.